You know what's a Zelda comment that tends to irk me up every time I listen to it? Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are good games, just not good Zelda games. I don't know what mental gymnastics you must be doing in your head to say something so wrong, because if you ask me, I think Open World Zelda is Big Zelda.
With this, I don't want to make the other games any lesser. They're classics that define important events of our lives and continue to impress us with memorable stories, likable characters, fun challenges, interesting worlds, and fantastic music. What I love the most about this franchise is how unique every single game is. Majora's Mask may be a direct sequel to Ocarina of Time, but it's an entirely different beast with an unmatched atmosphere. I love Wind Waker for its cartoony style and how much personality it has. It doesn't matter how similar A Link to the Past and A Link Between Worlds are on the surface. Their core essence is different enough to make both games worth playing. What I'm trying to say is that every single game in the series has its own thing that sets it apart from the rest of the franchise, but they'll still capture that magic that makes the Zelda series so special. And that brings us to the most recent and biggest entries in the entire series: Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. In recent years, ever since Zelda jumped into an open world format, I've seen people both praise and hate this change. While the latter is a minority more than anything, I will still love to give my piece about this topic. Why Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom aren't just great games, why they aren't just incredible Zelda titles, but also talk about what makes them so special. When Breath of the Wild was announced, I remember being in and out on the idea. And because, well, it's a Zelda game. Personally, I've never been disappointed by one, but I was also out because of the open world format. Open world games tend to be super hit or miss for me because some companies,
Ubisoft,
love to brag about their open worlds, about how massive they are. They will go on and on about, oh no, this game's map will be 1 billion times bigger than GTA 5 and Skyrim's maps combined. And it's like, cool, but what will you do in them? I remember dropping the Assassin's Creed franchise because 3 was so massive, but so damn boring. That taught me something important. It's not the size that matters, it's what you do with it.
Hey!
This goes for both Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Both games have insanely huge open worlds, but they knew how to take advantage of them while making them interesting. The first thing that stood out for me when I first played Breath of the Wild wasn't the sheer size of the map, but the fact that there were no limits in what I could do. If I saw a faraway mountain, a shrine that seemed beyond my reach, an NPC I wanted to talk to, there was rarely anything that could stop me from getting there. And that's the first thing that ever caught my attention. That sense of freedom not many games can give you, and this applied in almost any context. Where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do, when I wanted the game to end. All of that was always up to me to decide, and how I will do those things will only be limited by my skill and imagination. Preparation was always important, sure, but again, that's more of a precaution than anything else. But I think the best part about Hyrule in these games is that, in every place, in every corner, there's always something to do. You can find a weapon, a Korok seed, materials, or a shrine. Even if I have a goal in mind, my mind will slowly drift to something that caught my eye. And the best part about it is that I will usually get rewarded for it. Rarely in these games have I ever thought of, well, fuck, I just wasted my time. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, because just like any true Zelda game, these rewards usually had a challenge behind them. From getting to a certain place, having to deal with some enemies, or even solve a puzzle. But again, how I dealt with those things was entirely up to me. See, here's what I like the most about open world Zeldas. The Legend of Zelda isn't a franchise I can call difficult, especially the 3D games, because 2D, well, yeah, they can kick my ass at times, but say, when it comes to puzzles, it is usually getting an item in a dungeon and use said item to solve an intuitive puzzle in said dungeon. Which is good, it's very fun. But in open world Zeldas, they give you all these challenges, some very obvious and some more cryptic than others. But the best part about them is that there isn't a one definitive way to overcome them, if you know how to use your powers properly. If you get creative or even by some sheer luck, you can overcome these obstacles and feel rewarded in the process. One of my favorite things at the beginning of Tears of the Kingdom was when I wanted to go to a high place and I would think, oh shit, this is gonna take me a while. but out of sheer luck, one fragment of the Sky Islands will fall to the ground, and I will use recall on that stone so it will take me to a high altitude and get me to my objective very fast. I remember I was streaming the game once and some people in the audience were like, "Wait, what? You can do that?" It never crossed my mind. And that's the thing. It shows how creativity and experimentation leads you to good results. And same way with the combat. In previous games, it was super basic. Just target your opponent and wait for them to be vulnerable. The highlights, of course, were the bosses, since you had to use the dungeon item to take them down, and they were amazing. In Open World Zelda, there's a bit more depth to the combat, like parrying, dodging at the right time, and all the different weapons. But it's still very basic. But does that make it bad? Oh hell no! What I love so much about combat in these games is that fighting can be an option. You can play it smart and avoid it, take out enemies silently, even use your surroundings and unique items to defeat the enemies, and of course, you can also take it close and personal by fighting traditionally. I especially like using that plant that confuses the enemies. I will confuse the smaller ones so they will help me take down the bigger threats. But I also have the option to blind them, shock them, burn them, it's amazing! And I think this is all encouraged thanks to the game's weapon durability system. I understand why some people hate this mechanic, but I honestly never found it a huge issue. Like, sure, it sucks when you have this powerful weapon or fusion weapon explode after a while, which is the main reason I never used the champion's weapons, the previous Zelda weapons, or the Hylian shield. I'd rather just keep them at my house. It's an annoying mechanic, sure, but it still has some perks. One, because if you rather just keep your weapons intact, you can find workarounds in battle, again, from making the monsters fight one another, kill them with stealth, or even better, push them in the water to instantly kill them. And second, if you have the smallest knack for exploration, you're always bound to find a weapon to get the job done. This is especially easier in Tears of the Kingdom, where almost any weapon can become devastating with the right combination and proper use. And see, here's another thing I find so cool about Open World Zelda. I don't think there is a single mechanic that doesn't matter. The different powers you get between games, the multiple weapons you can acquire, all the foods you can cook, the different pieces of armor you can wear, even small things like weather and status effects, even the economy, because let's be fair, in previous Zelda games, when did you ever run out of money? Aside from the mandatory Tingle Quest in Wind Waker. In these games, thanks to how scarce money can be and how expensive some items can get, rupees are always relevant. If you get creative enough, you can make every single thing matter. The only limits in these games are your imagination and your curiosity. And I understand why this isn't so apparent at first glance, because in previous games, whenever you get a new item, that item feels like it matters a lot, because you usually get it at a dungeon where it will stand out. But I think this also had a few drawbacks, because after that temple, how many items will remain useful until the end of the game? Maybe the bombs, the bow, perhaps the hook shot, definitely the Pegasus boots. Yeah, those can hold up on their own, but some others like, say, the spinner or the Dominion Rod from Twilight Princess will mostly be used for one or two pieces of heart. Open World Zelda games don't give their items that much fanfare, sure, especially because of the durability system. But I still think they remain relevant depending on how you decide to use them. They still matter, just in a different way. And then there's the matter of the stories. These have been quite criticized in recent games, and I can see why. The open world nature and full freedom you get in these games make their stories feel sparser. I feel that in comparison to previous games, there isn't a narrative progression that feels natural. There are still great moments, good set pieces, and likable characters to get attached to. But it's just not the same. For example, I can tell you, I like the Breath of the Wild champions. But that's because they're quote-unquote the best the game has to offer. And I also really like their designs. But it's still nowhere close to me saying, my favorite Zelda characters are Midna, Groose, and Linebeck because of this, and that. If anything, I think this might be a controversial opinion, but that's why I like the story of Age of Calamity. Sure, it also has its flaws, and so much plot armor that goes unexplained.
If you know, you know.
But what I like so much about it is that you have a more direct approach with the story and characters. Even though it had its obvious issues, it was a story I still enjoyed. One where I could finally feel attachment for Zelda, the champions, and even characters like Gimpa, Pura, and Robbie. And yeah, the fact that they're also playable helped them a lot. except Revali. I think he sucked gameplay-wise. But does that mean that the stories of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are terrible? Not really! They still have moments I thoroughly enjoy, such as certain cinematics, or the boss battle in the Wind Temple, and even getting the Master Sword in Tears of the Kingdom. But I also feel there's something else that sets them apart. Your own story with these games is what makes them so magical. Speak to any person who has played these games. Nobody will ever have a similar experience. From surface stuff like, oh, I went with the Rito first, and then the Gorons, the Zoras, and finally the Gerudos, to most in-depth things like, I was exploring this area and found this crazy strong monster that I barely managed to defeat. I found this random maze in the overworld which told me to go to the sky, and finally the underground which gave me cool armor and rewards. I found this town and I didn't leave until I will finally build it. One fun memory I personally have about Breath of the Wild is that my first playthrough was fantastic. I had such a good time even though I borrowed the game on the Wii U and I only had a few days to finish it. But a year later, once I got my own copy on the Switch, I took my time with the game and... dare I say I enjoyed it more? Because even though I already beat the game and I did a lot, my second playthrough still felt fresh. I took different routes, did even more things. I found areas I never explored before, found more missions, NPCs, secrets, treasures. I did so much more. It didn't just help me to appreciate Breath of the Wild on an entirely different level. It made me realize that the special moments in these games are the ones you make. Another special memory that I have is going to my friend's apartment and you will have me and two other friends doing our own playthrough of Tears of the Kingdom. Each doing something completely different while also helping each other and discovering new things together. This is simply something not many games can replicate. I think the only real issue I can find with these games are the soundtracks. I have this official Majora's Mask CD that in the back says, "Music has always been an essential element in the Legend of Zelda series." And damn, it seems the open world games didn't get that memo. 95% of these soundtracks are just environmental noises from Smash Bros. And I get why, they fit the world so well. But it still feels super underwhelming when you compare it to previous Zelda games, because I can tell you, some of my favorite tracks in the series include Clock Town, Final Hour, Stone Tower Temple, Dragon Roost Island, Hyrule Castle in A Link to the Past, and Hyrule Field in Twilight Princess. You know what are my favorite songs in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom? The Rito Village theme and the Wind Temple boss theme. And those are literally rearrangements of Dragon Roost Island from Wind Waker. I guess I can add the Hinox and Molduga battle themes, but still, my point is, the soundtracks in these games just don't hit on the same level, except for some cherry-picked moments. I'm still baffled Breath of the Wild was nominated for Best Soundtrack years ago, because that got me like...
Where's the music?
At the bare minimum, I'm happy Age of Calamity gave us a much hyper soundtrack. At the end of the day, I don't intend to make Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom the pinnacles of the series while making the others less. No, The Legend of Zelda is a magical series that stands out in how each game has its own identity while still delivering fantastic experiences that have marked us for life. And Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are no exceptions. I don't know how people can go around saying, oh, they're good games, just not good Zelda games. Dude, I don't know what standards you have there, because if anything, these games hit closer to the first Zelda game than any other game in the series. Just say they're not your thing, that's totally valid. You can have any game you want as your favorite. Ocarina of Time, The Adventure of Link, the Oracle games, Four Swords Adventures, even the Hyrule Warriors titles. Because again, this franchise has something to offer to every single type of player. No matter what game you choose, you'll always have something guaranteed that they never miss, in that sense of adventure that makes a Zelda game so special.
Now I wonder, which Zelda game do I remove to put Tears of the Kingdom on my top 3? I mean, Majora's Mask stays no matter what, but do I remove Wind Waker, my childhood Zelda game, or Twilight Princess, the game that has Midna? Fuck it. This is now my top 4 Zelda games, see? We can love all these games on equal grounds. But anyway, what do you think about Open World Zelda? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Which game in the entire series is your favorite? Please, let me know in the comments. And as usual, thank you so much for your time. I really hope you enjoyed the video. And if you want to support the channel, you know, liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing, Patreon, or even checking my other videos, that will mean so much to me. Have a wonderful day and take care. I'll see you next time.